Hello and welcome back to Crypto Atlas. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin as well as a little bit about Orchid and giving you guys updates on both of these cryptocurrencies. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe for more content. We are on our way trying to push for that goal right up there at 450. I'm not sure what it's at by the time you see this video. And it's also nice to meet you guys. For everybody that's returning, great to see you guys again. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below how you guys are all doing and if there's any interesting projects you guys have been noticing. Maybe you want me to take a little bit more of a look on, or maybe some new information that I missed that you think is relevant to this. So anybody that's watching the videos, definitely at the very least go look down below. You maybe don't want to type anything, but you should take a look down there, and I encourage you guys that if you want to engage in this conversation that you do so down there. Feel free to hit like and let's get into it. So taking a look over at Bitcoin, we can see it's at $10,700. We'll take a little bit more of an in-depth look into the actual chart itself here in a second, but let's go ahead and go over a couple of the articles that are being released. And so one of which is that they're really trying to push for this whole Bitcoin ETF. And for a while now, a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space have been very, very bullish on the idea that if a Bitcoin ETF was to come out, especially on the United States, that it would be very, very good for the price of Bitcoin. Like that's basically the boom, let's go straight to the moon kind of a thing. It's been discussed for a long time. The problem is that it keeps getting proposed, such as the Winklevoss twins. They've tried proposing this. And one of the big proponents for this is known as Crypto Mom, and in the US, Pierce. So she responded with the opposition, the rejects, saying, "I've been pretty outspoken about my disagreement with my colleagues on disapproving some of these exchange-traded products." And to go further on with this, she said that I do think that Bitcoin markets are mature. There's a lot of money in there now. There's a lot of very sophisticated players in this space. And there's been a lot of work done to regularize the trading with Bitcoin particularly. Why did I have so much trouble with that? I would say that the markets are mature enough to build something else on top of. End quote. I mean, I may have improv'd a little bit there in the middle, but yeah, so long story short with this, right, is that a lot of debate about whether it's stable enough. We've seen volatility in the past. How do we know Bitcoin's not going to go down to zero? Well, now it's been around for 11 years, and it's had dips, even some of the worst times like what we've seen, and it's constantly forming new higher lows. And even with what just happened, the pandemic, the first lockdown, it's had a recovery push back up. So it's proving itself quite valuably. Wow, I'm having trouble with some of these words tonight. Maybe it's from doing too many of these other videos. And so you look at big players like MicroStrategy and Grayscale, and they've come in, and what do? They dropped millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. In Grayscale's case, $1 billion, you know. That is a lot of money. And so the big players are coming in saying, we want to be a part of this game. And I think it's about time that we do the ETF. We saw the ETF on the other side of the world. Let's see it over here in the United States. Aside from that article, then we've also got the fact that the CME future contracts are set to expire for tomorrow, Friday, as of the time of this video. And you got to take a look and to consider it that the fact is that there's $1 billion worth that's inside of these CME future contracts that are willing to are about to expire. And realistically, when you're going to go and try and complete these contracts, you are not obligated to actually buy the contract. So, for example, if the price of Bitcoin is less than what you put in for your future contract to buy, you don't have to buy it. Why would you buy it? Right? So there's the option that they don't have to actually make the purchase. And because of that, from what we're seeing, unless the price of Bitcoin continues to go up further, a lot of people are just going to say, no, I don't want to be a part of it. So in this article, they say bears reign as 86% of September's $284 million CME Bitcoin future options are worthless. This was posted earlier today. As the expiry draws near, call options 10% or higher above the current BTC price are deemed worthless. Therefore, there's not much to gain in rolling over the position for October. And then you can take a look over on this chart right here. And we look back at Bitcoin for just a second. It's at $10,700, just a little bit above $10,700. So 10% higher than that, you're not really looking at much of a difference here. Potentially the $10,700 range. Open interest 15. Every CME contract represents 5 Bitcoin, so you do 5 times each of these technically. So it can kind of add up, but you can tell that most of the amounts actually takes place from $11,300 to $11,500. There's even some that go up all the way to $14,000. So I mean, there's a lot at $14,000, but the absolute most is at a $12,000 price point, and we're quite a bit off from that. So if it's $10,200, why would they bother? $10,000, why would they bother? $10,700 with $10,713. I mean, a gain is a gain, but if you think the price is going to go down even further, you don't want to buy it at this exact moment. So that's probably a no too, which is why they're talking about this whole 10% higher. Scrolling down here, you can also see that they talk a little bit more about another exchange. The one that's most dominant is Deribit, and that's where they have approximately 70% of the call options open interest for September, sitting right around $11,250 and above. So yet again, $11,250, we've got quite a bit of ways to try and go to get there. And if you want my opinion, because I'm not a financial advisor, just a little disclaimer, everything here is for entertainment purposes and my opinion and sharing with you guys news and what I'm looking at the charts, right? But in my opinion, I think that what we're seeing right now might very well be a fake out. It could be a rally to try and push it up to these levels. As you can see with the CME future contracts, they're not really in a position that's right there. So if people buy in because they think that, oh, it's really going up, these people are going to start doing their contracts, and all of a sudden they start dumping, that could actually work in favor for some of the people that are doing the shorting, and it could end up rallying all the way back down. So I think that this might be a fake out. This is either more likely to break even and just be a calm, still water as everyone's kind of waiting to see what's going to play out. But unless Bitcoin really, really starts to rally, which is what it did earlier today, and I feel like the rally is starting to fall flat, it's not looking that great for this. And when we take a look at the stock futures, which I'm going to go ahead and pull up right now, just kind of seeing, since it's technically out, it is a little bit bullish. The S&P 500 at the moment is up 0.48%, NASDAQ 0.53%, Dow 0.44%. So potentially the market could end up pulling out on a Friday going up, and if Bitcoin does rally with the S&P 500 like it traditionally has been showing lately, then this might fill into some more regions. But how much more is it really going to go? A lot of the stock market has been showing a bit more of a recession trend. It's been more bearish than bullish as of lately, and a Friday could be a little bit of a pump up just so that they hope that the next week's going to continue to rally on. But let's be honest, the market is really not doing great in the whole lockdown over in Israel again, and probably going to have that happen in other places and affects the economy even more. We're in some really rough waters right now, so I would just say grab something and hold on. And we take a look over here on Twitter. This was posted by Willie Woo. He said, here's a reminder of Bitcoin's Sharpe ratio compared to stocks in a 4-year hold. This is an apples for apples comparison of returns adjusting for risk. BTC is 2.5, stocks 1.4. Bitcoin has never dropped below 1.9 in its 11 years price history. So although this is looking at it on a 4-year perspective, he's referencing that even in the 11 years, it's never dropped below 1.9%. Okay, so here's the chart. You can see Bitcoin is represented in the blue, risk-adjusted returns versus other assets down here on the green in the stock market reference. And what is the Sharpe ratio? Just so you guys know, went ahead and pulled this up here for you. The Sharpe ratio is developed and is used to help investors understand the return of an investment compared to its risk. The ratio is the average return earned in excess of the risk-free rate per unit of volatility or total risk. Volatility is a measure of the price fluctuations of an asset or portfolio. Subtracting the risk-free rate from the mean return allows an investor to better isolate the profit associated with the risk-taking activities. The risk-free rate of return is the return of investment with zero risk, meaning it's the return investors could expect for taking no risk. The yield for a U.S. Treasury bond, for example, could be used at the risk-free rate. Generally, the greater the value of the Sharpe ratio, the more attractive the risk-adjusted return. And in my opinion, a statement like this needs to be brought up when you're talking about BTC, what we were just talking about a minute ago, with the SEC, the ETFs. There's so many letters: ABC, NBC, WTF, right? So, anyways, the the ETFs. Now I'm even losing myself again. I just literally said it. The ETFs, the exchange traded funds. I think that this should be brought up, and this should help validate the fact that, look, you do in comparison to the stock market, I think it's pretty clear that Bitcoin should be just totally fine. Okay, so we're going to close that out, and close that one out. Now going on to Orchid. The news for this is that tomorrow at 6 a.m., this is September 25th, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, it will be available for Binance US. Binance US users can now start depositing USD, USDT, or OXT tokens to their wallets in preparation for trading to go live. So it just recently went on Binance. The fact that it hasn't even been a week, right? It hasn't even been a week, and it's already going up on Binance US. Bam! I love this cryptocurrency. I'm not getting paid by the company to say this. I own a bunch of Orchid. I've looked at the project. It seems really promising to me. Guys, I own a bunch of Bitcoin too. I mean, not like a bunch. I don't own anything near like MicroStrategy or anything like that. But as far as my investment portfolio, Bitcoin is my number one, and I've actually got Orchid as my number two. So I like to keep an eye on this. I know a lot of you guys that are on my channel like to keep an eye on this too. Take a look over at Orchid, and then we're going to finish off with Bitcoin's chart. You can actually see it is just slightly down for the day. This is the Fibonacci retracement that I've had set up here, and it's been consolidating essentially within this space right here between the 0.382 and the 0.5. We did have an irregularity that spiked up here. This was with the announcement of Binance and it actually releasing onto Binance. You can see they had exponential growth and a big retracement, and we actually saw that correlated with Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency space. If you went on to Coinbase on the app, you were even seeing that like during that day, the Orchid was actually on the positive, and it was doing really good percentage-wise, but everything else was just a massive sea of red, just massive sea of red. So this had a continuation correction afterwards. The market's been a little bit bumpy. Bitcoin started going up a little bit in price. Now it's just kind of flatlined a little bit. You can see the Bitcoin just slightly down at the moment, and so we're just going to kind of wait and see what's going on with this. Potentially, though, it could go down and fill all the way back down to around this region, down to the 0.382. If it holds within this space, we could see it even potentially bouncing around here between the 0.5, which would be around 30 cents, and up to about 32.53 cents. Given the previous instance when it released on Binance, there is that strong potential that we're going to see a further rally up with this. But I would be very hesitant, guys, if Bitcoin, which we've been seeing a lot of association lately, if Bitcoin starts to tank, this could be one of those catch it on the rise up and then it further crashes back down. A lot of promise for the project itself, but very awkward timings for all this stuff. When Orchid first came out and released on Coinbase, Bitcoin was constantly on its way down. Orchid didn't really have much of an opportunity to be like, hey guys, check me out, take me seriously. And when this started to rally up, the release onto one exchange, and then over here, the release onto Binance. Now we're looking at the chance with Binance US, and I am currently bearish. It's still below the 21 EMA. The 21 EMA is resting pretty nicely on that 0.618 for the Fibonacci sequence. So if it can break both of those barriers, then I would be looking more bullish and I'm looking on the upswing up to the point to about 36 cents, almost 37 cents. So if it breaks above that, then I turn bullish. As it is right now, I am bearish. And yes, the candle is red, but if it was red and it was still above the 21 EMA, I would be leaning a little bit more on the bullish side, just so you guys know and clarify. This is but my own personal opinion. You guys are welcome to have your own. It's still above the level of support that's right here. It's in this kind of zone that's been filling in. We could technically adjust this now if we really needed to. In fact, let's go ahead and do so. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here. This was a bit of an irregularity, so I would consider potentially not even counting that big massive spike and just kind of using it more like this. I mean, this is just a massive wick, just massive wick, way over pumped right there. So I would personally set this up right about in this region here, about like that. Looks good, forming this descending wedge pattern. And as a descending wedge, I think there's a very strong chance of a reversal sometime soon, but it needs to start pushing up towards that level of support. It's got to, or sorry, that resistance. It's got to push up towards that resistance, and it's got to break that resistance, break through it. So slightly bullish, in my opinion, if it goes to 33 cents. I become bigger bullish if it breaks 36 cents and it goes above this. And if it could sustain holding above there for a day, 2 days, get a couple candles, create that pattern, and it stays above that, then I will be mega bullish on Orchid. Finishing off with what's going on with Bitcoin. Just a quick little look on this. $10,700, slightly down. It is right on that cusp. It's just kind of hovering right now on that 21 EMA. In fact, if you look at it pretty closely, it's essentially 50-50. It's almost 50-50. It's starting to pull down further as of this exact moment. We could see some of the bigger exchanges that it's currently trading off of. I like to go over to this website, btcusd.aggr.trade. This is a 10-second candle. You can see over on the far right-hand side, anything that's major. I have it categorized for anything that's over $100,000. So every time a transaction occurs that's $100,000 or more, you'll see it pop up. Okay, there's a buy. Shows you that it's on BitMEX. I like this little chart. You can see a bit of a rally going up here, but then a big correction drop back down. The volume is showing down on the bottom as well. So on a little bit more of a micro perspective view, seeing which exchanges are kind of being the most active with things as of the last day at least, or potentially a couple of days, I've been seeing a lot of activity, what seems like it's going on BitMEX. So I don't know if you guys have any other further information that could potentially tie into that, but I have been noticing bigger transactions occurring, primarily sell orders taking place on BitMEX. Last night, for example, I saw a couple big ones that were over $1 million that took place that were on BitMEX. Binance Futures, another buy right there. This is actually very slow at the moment, so not a whole lot of activity that really seems to be taking place, but it's a roller coaster ride. It's just as of the time of the video, right? Continuing on with this, you can see the relative strength index down below is in the median zone. So it's just kind of cruising. Everything is more or less in that waiting zone. It's almost like, hey, what's going to happen with these future contracts? Everybody's like, dude, somebody else make the first move. Somebody else go to the dance floor. I'm not going to be the one to make myself look like a fool. What if I go out there and I start dancing and everyone else is like, let's just stare at the dude that's dancing by himself, right? So anyways, guys, I'm going to go and wrap up my video there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you're new to the channel, please do not forget to hit subscribe. We're trying to build a great community. I look forward to your guys' thoughts and opinions and feedback or questions. I try to answer some of them sometimes. I do read all your guys' comments. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please don't forget to hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.